Hey, how you doing, guys? It's Pearlo Wisdom, and yeah, we're supposed to have Joe, but I don't know where he is. So it's just me. Good, Oilers man. You're able to be on. Awesome, Lauren. How you doing? No game tonight, as we know now. Whole bunch of COVID stuff going on there for Carolina. It's. I guess it's. We could talk about the COVID stuff a little bit. I don't know what's going on. Yes, this new variant isn't as strong as the one before, but not really. I start at 1:30 now. Hockey News reports. It's not as strong as the other one, but apparently, if it mutates more and more, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's what all of the too late, Joe. I've already got you on. I don't know. Now Joe wants on. I'll see if I can get Joe on. I don't know if it'll work now or not. I already started the live. I don't know if it'll work now to add you or what. Well, I need to get on early so I can get everything set up before we start. Anyways, we're live right now as I'm speaking to you. So. Yep. See if I can figure out how to do this. Oh, maybe not. No, they probably can't. But they can hear me talking to you. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get Projo on here. Okay, I don't see you. Yeah. Okay. Now they can hear you. So whenever you turn your camera on, then. All right. So I love the promo code is called Pearlo Dance. That's right. Yes. Promo code there for Manscaped. And there you are. And there's Projo. All right. So yeah, I was just talking about this. I only know what I know, but from what I understand, like what we're getting in Canada here is, yeah, the effects of this new thing is not strong, but if they don't nip it in the bud and it continues to mutate, it'll just get stronger and stronger. That's what I've heard.
Well, Johnny Rochelle isn't. Yeah, I agree with you, Pearlo. But Johnny Rochelle, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to ask him why he commented it. Isn't the Leafs one? Is Richie also out because of COVID? Because I saw the Leafs earlier. They said more than McLeod might be out for Edmonton, and they're playing the Leafs. So if that game got postponed, at first I was thinking it would be because of Edmonton. But is there more people that are out for the COVID protocol, Johnny? Is that what Richie's out for? Or is he out because of an injury?
Let me look up here on Pro Hockey Rumors. Sometimes that tells you. I didn't hear anything about McLeod placed on McLeod is placed on COVID protocol. That hurts a lot for the Oilers. They don't have anywhere near enough.
Yeah, but here it is. No, yeah, that's true. But Frank Cervelli tweeted Ryan McLeod may not be alone on the protocol list. Sounds like Edmonton is a potential positive on the coaching staff as well. Believe they are retesting to make sure there is not a false positive. That's what Frank Cervelli said about like 35 minutes ago.
The way this is going, I see a shutdown because I don't think they're going to the Olympics now. So I see them stopping. They got a week because the Olympics was going to be like 2 weeks, right? So if they keep
Well,
on
they have
getting
an
these
Olympic
COVID
break.
protocols and teams not having players like this, I could see them stopping for a while to see what they're going to do next.
They have an Olympic break and then they have an All-Star break. So they
Yeah,
have two different breaks built in that they could not do
yeah.
either. But
CO.
I feel like
Sorry,
at
go
this,
ahead.
from everything that I've understood and read, it seems like they're just going to keep going into protocols with teams and then plucking a roll on like the AHL was done, because the AHL before the NHL had it get the hell slung of all the COVID protocol hit, where they had multitudes of teams, like 7 out at a time, where the NHL is now having a couple out each time and starting to get like that, where they just kept having them go into protocols and push it along. Steele and I brought it up on the JB and Steele show that came out earlier on Steel Flyers, where it's more just the language of the league has to have better protocols within it of what's required, because you have certain teams that have like 6 guys on, then you
Yeah,
stop their games. You have other teams that have 10 guys on, you don't stop anything. Like, you have to have some lingo. I know John, they talked about it on his show too. You probably talked about it too. Like, you have to have a more
it's
constructed
impossible.
language
It's
so people
impossible.
know,
It's
yeah, what the
impossible
hell
to have that language
it
because it's
well,
going to change. They don't know. They simply don't know.
no, I don't think it's impossible to have a language on an X amount of players to, because I'm just talking about, you can say if 7 players are on protocol,
But
that's when we
the
suspend people's game.
problem
That's
was
not
it seemed
impossible.
okay to have 8 before or whatever, but then as they get new information, they realize they can't do that anymore. So they're trying to make it last as long as possible, but the amount is going to change over time. It's either shut it down or you're just going to have
Yeah,
to roll with whatever we tell you to do. And
but
yeah, it's going to
also,
be unfair, but too bad. It's just the way it is. It's unfair already,
but
anyways,
also,
because teams are having to play without players constantly all the time. It's like a rolling, it's already unfair. It's not going to be fair. No, no.
no, I agree. But also, some of the spots in Canada, like Alberta right now, with how they said there could be 10K after the
Yeah.
Christmas holiday, which we pray everybody's all right there. You guys are like, not everywhere. There's some good spots and there's some bad spots now, where it's not like before, where everything was in hell turmoil with the virus all over the place. Where that's why I feel like, whether it's the right decision or wrong decision, in the ultimate end, they're just going to keep having teams go into protocol and play. I don't see them fully stopping the season as a whole, because I feel like the only way they would do that, if teams have to be like out for a very extended period of time, and there's a couple teams that have to be out for like 2 weeks or long, then they would probably think of that. But um, I mean, I feel like, just in my own opinion, they're probably not going to do that, but we'll have to see as time goes on. The Olympics is definitely something in question now. You already have guys like Leonard that pulled out. McDavid's um, expressed his doubts about how he wouldn't want to be in quarantine for 3 to 5 weeks, about how
I
that's a
I find
detriment.
it highly
He's already
unlikely
talked
they're going to
about
go
that.
to the Olympics. Highly unlikely.
Yeah, but the other thing is, with COVID in Alberta, should we? I don't know how it is in Red Deer, um, but should we move the World Juniors to some other stadium, so they're not playing one of the group
Yeah,
stages
it's
in Alberta, if that's
kind of
where
hard
it's
to
really
do
big?
on the fly, but it's not just
Oh, that is no, that's extremely difficult, because you would have to talk to like the owners of Montreal. You'd have to talk. I mean, you're not going to do it in Ottawa, but because then you would have to deal with Melnick. But like, you have to talk to Toronto's owners, or like it's not easy to do. But it's just an idea that popped into my head, because it's in Alberta, and Alberta's the worst place right now between either of our two countries that's doing with the
not
variant
really.
right
It
now.
just came
So.
out today in Ontario that they're very concerned there too. So in Toronto, Toronto's the hub of Canada, so you got people coming in and out of there. They just had a huge spike right now. So yeah,
Oh, although Toronto's kind of like your guys' New
yeah,
York, like you just
it's
said,
the
the
hub.
mecca
Yeah,
of Canada. That makes sense. Where you guys having it to the prominent display that it's on right now, unfortunately, is more of wow.
We have it
type
most
thing.
here because we have the most amount of people that won't get the vax.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
that's
figuring.
why.
Yeah.
But anyways, all that it's all It's all
My thing went a
speculation.
little
But
big, but
from what I'm hearing, and you're getting this happen so many times, eventually owners are going to say this isn't fair. Let's stop everything to see where this is going, and just take some time off to see. I don't think they're going to stop the season, but maybe take some time off to see where the severity is, how severe this is really going to be before you end up having to stop the season. You know what I mean? Yeah, Toronto is bad. John Weichel's there
yeah,
right now, and yeah, Toronto's really bad for COVID cases right now.
yeah. I think the thing that helps, because I also don't even hear with the NBA or the NFL that goes through it, that they're even going to stop, and they don't have as high of a vaccination rate. Where the NHL and even the AHL, hockey has, for whatever reason, a much higher vaccination rate, even though like other leagues have mandated it. Where the NFL is a pretty high because of a mandate, but then you had people that lied about it. So like I feel like that helps them out. Where I also think that's part of the reason why that they're probably just keep plucking away because science has shown. Steele and I talked about it a little bit on our show, but I don't like going deep into these topics because I would just much rather talk about sports. But science has shown that if you are vaccinated, which most of the hockey players are, you're not going to be hospitalized. And I think that's ultimately they just care about the player safety in the end of, oh, you're going to be okay. And if everybody's vaccinated for the most part, and it has been highly recommended and basically mandated that if you don't get it, you can't play in certain cities, like if you're the Bertuzzis of the world. Um, I feel like that's why they probably keep plucking along. The only way I honestly see them stopping, because the AHL didn't even stop when they had, I believe it was 6 or 7 teams at one time that were stopped. I don't think the NHL is gonna stop, unless if it's like to a degree where you have like almost double digit teams, like 8 or more. Maybe at that point you would actually review it, but I feel like at this point they'll probably keep plucking along, particularly because one of the biggest events, which is between two very good teams, is coming up, which is the Winter Classic, which they want to put on this year. So I feel like they're going to keep at least going through the holiday season, and then if it gets bad after that, to reassess. Because I see your point with owners might evaluate it that way, but if people are still coming out to the game and they're making money, all they're going to care about in the end is if they're
I don't know
making
what
money.
you're
So
hearing, but I'm hearing here that the biggest problem is not how sick you get right now. The biggest problem is how sick people will get if they don't stop it now. That's the biggest problem. And if that's what's happening here in Canada, you know how we are here in Canada. We're not going to take any chances. We've already shown that. And it's not going to be whether the league wants to do whatever the heck they want to do. They don't care. It's just going to be the way it is. But that's enough for this. We'll go into all the other stuff that's going on today. It's kind of hard to get around the COVID stuff because a lot of the games have to do with COVID stuff and players being out of the lineup. St. Louis is getting smoked pretty hard right now. They're having an amazing run. I see you did a video on Lindgren and his. I mean, this is his big. This is Lindgren's. This is Lindgren's
yeah,
big chance. He's 27 years old. Wasn't able to find a spot in Montreal. Like I feel like Lindgren's come up and really said, I am not losing out this time. I'm not being sent down. And he's giving them every reason to not send them down up until now. I mean,
yeah. No, that's entirely true. The only problem there is Philly Husso's been playing well this year. Bennington's obviously their number one. So when everybody's back, unless if they're doing what the Stars did until recently when Hadobin's just cleared waivers and been sent down to the Texas Stars, not many teams carry three goaltenders. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do because it would be an oddity if they decide to carry three. But he's definitely earned, like I said in my video I did on my Sports Tonight news page, he's earned his credit and he's earned his card to be a definitely high potent third stringer to have as a guy on your depth chart and a guy that might end up being a trade bait piece as a backup at this point because he's definitely well ahead of another guy. I did a video on Adam Huska, who was a 7/10 former ECHLer to play, who got shellacked because he had to go against the
that was
Avalanche, like we talked
brutal.
about last week. But
That was
um,
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, but he's a guy that could potentially be a backup as well. Like somebody commented on my video and Trey Bate, he's well ahead of him. Lindgren is ahead of Huska, being a more mature veteran and 27, not mature like in terms of like more mature in his game. Like both of them don't have any issues like off the ice or any of that type of on the ice stuff. But I think he's a guy that has a very good chance, but it's just unfortunate because once everybody comes back, you usually don't keep three goalies. So he probably will end up playing for Springfield again, but he'll keep kicking butt down there and potentially get traded to somebody that needs a backup and needs more goaltending depth, or they'll just keep him because you never know with the way that the COVID protocols have been going this year. Bennington goes back on it at some point or gets injured, or Billy Huso goes down again, or if that gets extended, how long he's out. So it's always you can never have enough goaltending. That's basically the
Does he have
easiest
to
way to
clear
sum it
waivers
up.
again, though? If he has to clear waivers, somebody's going to nab him.
Um,
I think somebody's going to nab him after that performance. Buffalo
hold on.
would make that would be a perfect place. Give him a shot and put Subban back on waivers again and try him out. Okay, see you, Denny. Sorry, you got it. Sorry, you couldn't stick around, buddy. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
doctor's appointment.
There's talk of Claude Giroux going to
Uh,
Minnesota. I mean, he controls his fate there, really.
maybe. I could see it because they need center help, but I don't know. So it depend on Claude because yeah, like you said, he decides his fate at this point. I'm trying to get what. Why does it not say if he is a one or two way?
So, PK Subban has COVID now too, Weichel? Wow. New Jersey. I don't think that hurts them too much, but uh, yeah, I don't think he's going to. I think the Philadelphia are going to keep on banging on the wall and keep on trying to add players and be the best they can be. I think that's what they're going to do. I don't see them going back and, you know, I don't see Philadelphia choking on their own word decisions yet after firing Hextall because they got impatient and wanted to win now,
Well,
that they're
it's
going to all of a
also
sudden say, "Oh, we were wrong." I just can't see that.
it's also they look good in the last few developing into something without even having practices yet, and even playing tonight's game. They only had a short practice because they had to travel back, and then had a game tonight. So like Yo said, you have to keep the energy at a high level, so you don't want to over practice the guys, but. He's going to get to implement a little bit more. They've been looking a little bit better, so it depends how you can pluck away here. Because yes, it would be great to have a Goudreau or like an ultimate 1A with Claude Giroux again, because he hasn't had that much in his career. The best guy he's really had, arguably on his line, that produced the best chemistry wise was Yager in his 40s. So I mean, you want to potentially have that, but if you look at 1920 and the overall statistics of our team, we won because of everybody pick 'em up mentality, and it was a good overall team effort. It was not like a carrying weight like how the Edmonton Oilers are. Like your Oilers are with like obviously you have McDavid, Draisaitl, you have obviously Puljujarvi now, and you obviously also have Nuge, who are like the big Kahunas. Then you have a few other people chip in, but don't have the most depth like Payton's talked about in his videos. So like if you can get that scoring depth, that can make up for it. But you also have to play better. You have to limit shots a little bit more, which has been an issue for the Flyers. As far Hart does do really well. He's 6-0 in regulation when he faces over 40 shots. But obviously Martin Jones, who's been playing well this year, you don't want to be having him get almost 50 shots a night. He's a guy that usually is better if he's in between like the 30 to below categories. So um, you got to be able to limit that a little bit more. But if that happens, maybe you can have just a better season here throughout. But we'll have to see as time goes on. The jury's still out. We haven't beat the Devils in the last two tilts, so this is a big game to see if they're going to be able to figure out how to beat that team as well.
Yeah, the Flyers Devils game. I'm on. I think Philadelphia. I'm really surprised by the Devils this year. Um, I really thought Lindy Ruff would have that team moving a little better, but they're playing way too soft. All Philadelphia has to do is play them tough. and outwork him in the corners. And I mean, that's Yo's MO, right? Yo's MO
Yeah,
is his teams may lose, but they don't get outworked. That's what it was in Minnesota. That's the way, he was always great at that. The only problem was he would lose the ability to maintain that level for a team for a long period of time. Now, that could have changed now. He's grown as a coach. Um, he gets a lot of crap, but he was really young when he was brought in for St. Louis and for Minnesota.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
only 48 now. He was even younger when he was coaching Minnesota,
right.
let
So
alone
I
St.
think
Louis.
I
So,
think that's one thing I for sure I would agree with you. They're going to give Yo a really good chance, and I don't poop on Yo like a lot of people do, because if you look at what he did when he took over in both of those situations, the team got better right away, both in both situations. It just he's kind of, I think I take him as kind of a rah-rah guy, like Laviolette, and over time he'll learn how to hit the right buttons over time rather than just all once and then everything falls apart after that. But I mean, it's NHL coaching. It takes time. Obviously, two organizations saw a lot in him. So I can't see a reason why, give him a
mhm.
shot, see what happens.
Well, the big thing is too, since Darrell Williams, who should have been running the darn power play from the beginning of the season, for God's sakes, because he was one of AV's guys, and made more sense to run a power play than Michel Therrien, who never was good offensively when it came to coaching. And if you look at his numbers, never was good with his teams decreased each season with the power play. So what the hell is he running the like? That's not the job he should be doing. If you want him as an assistant coach, sure, but he shouldn't be doing that job. Where the power play now has improved. I think it's like 35 or something percent. So it's been better and it's been a lot more efficient where you see guys just cycling, like TK kind of said in his post game press conference the other day, cycling the puck and shooting and not being overly complicated and overthinking everything. They just take their shots and take advantage of it. And that's a big thing moving forward. For the Flyers, where that's why I could see them adding, if they are going to go for the kind of Canucks thing of we're not going to retool, we're going to try to still go for it, like you mentioned, adding a defenseman like somebody on the trade market that can get the puck through from the point of it, since Yondo obviously is a shell of him former self and is only solid on the power play and no other facets really. So if you could get somebody like, for example, like I'm just throwing that this is a guy that's not going to be easy to get, but if you can get somebody like Dallas has been rumored to get
Klingberg, Klingberg.
rid of a Klingberg, yeah, who's very good at getting the puck through from the point, and the Flyers lack right-handed defensemen. You would have to re-sign him, but I would honestly rather have a John Klingberg and pay him more like the $6 million that he's probably going to ask for, 6.5 or
Yeah,
7, than pay Risto
totally,
6.5 or
totally,
7.
totally. Make up for that
So,
mistake.
like,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's why if we get him, I would be content with either trading Ristolainen, and I don't think they would necessarily want him in that trade per se, but in a different trade
Well,
to
they'd
get
have
picks
to
or
give him a
something, and then have
qualifying offer and then trade
Ristolainen.
him. They'd have to give him a qualifying offer
What,
first.
what do you mean if we well, that's if we trade, yeah. If we traded him in the off season, I was thinking if we traded for Klingberg like around the deadline, if the Flyers were actually like doing better, like you were talking about, still went for the more, like it seems like we talked about last week, the Canucks are going to do. We're not going to retool. We're going to try to still figure out a way to get it going with Mike Yeo and compete and try to come back and have a winning team from here on out in the season type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would have to trade him and then trade for Klingberg from a Dallas team that is going for. I don't think Klingberg's going anywhere. They'll let him go. Unless the only way they're going to trade for him is if they get something that they fill another hole, maybe another rental, something like that. But I think they'll just let him go, and then they'll use that cap space in the off season because they're in it right now, and I don't see
Mm-hmm.
that being a fact.
Well, even if they let him go, if I'm the Flyers, I would either, if you can't move Risto, just let
Right.
Risto go and
That's
then
what I'm
sign
saying.
Jock.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
could sign Risto and then, well, no, because he's not going to sign anything. That's a tough situation they put him into. Very tough situation they put themselves into there, because it's gonna hurt, giving up a first and
Because
everything they did for him.
it's more of a tough situation. My buddy and I were talking to wrap up this topic because we don't want to draw on it too long, I'm sure. But like, my buddy and I were talking on the PlayStation last night about it, and Rushaline is more like he plays a physical game. He shot blocks. He does like the Racco Gudis type level games as a little bit of a bigger guy even than Gudis. But like that's a guy that I think Gudis gets paid like I want to say like 3.5 or something
Yeah.
like something like that. Where, like that's around what you want to pay guys like that. With Risto, because of the pop potential that everyone talks about that we haven't fully ever seen yet, market share is above that. Where if it's more like 4.5, then that's one thing because you're paying 1 million above what you would say you might want to do, and that's not a huge deal. But if it's like where most people would argue market share would be on the open market, like towards the 6 or more million, that's when it's not worth like really expunging that
Well,
much
one
money.
thing you could do, I suppose, and maybe they've already talked to him about this. Yeah, we will move on to another topic, but he was CL was asking about Tarasenko. But one thing you could do is if you can convince him that nobody out there is going to give him a long-term contract at that number, and there's a very good chance that nobody will, that you could work out a deal with him that would bring the number down into the, overall, like start at 7, but bring the cap hit down to like 4 or something like that for a longer period of time, then maybe it's reasonable that you could hold on to somebody like that. Because I don't think if you give them a qualifying offer, you might be able to trade him, but I mean, you might be able to trade him after you give him the qualifying offer for somebody. I think that's probably what they'll do, and they'll try to trade him for that if they can find somebody that's going to give them a long term for that qualifying offer. Anyways, you see what I mean? So if you can convince them, hey, you know what, nobody's going to give you 7 million for a long term after the seasons you've had. So you have an opportunity to stay here. We'll keep you at 4 or something like that. Maybe it might be worth their while. But do you think Tarasenko is in the conversation? I think I think Philadelphia really has to explore everything right now if they want to stay relevant. I don't know. It'll completely depend on where they are at the trade deadline.
Although,
If they're right out of it by the trade deadline, forget about it. Tarasenko's not in the conversation at all.
no, agree. I think Tarasenko and Johnny Hockey could be in the conversation, but the more I've thought about it, and the more I would love both of those players, I feel like when you look at the Flyers, particularly with the way that it looks like Hayes is still playing through injuries, and like I see what Lance is saying, he probably plays a little bit more efficient at center, but the main reason I believe we moved him from center is his wrists have got messed up in recent years when he's played center. He's got beat up so much over the years that I feel like it's more for that reason. So keeping him there for the longevity might not be the best for the success rate by the back half of the season. But that's just my vibe. But like I feel like when it comes to the overall team, you kind of need to add that center a little bit more than you need to add the wing position to be able to stabilize the center position so G doesn't always have to play there. And also, the way that Couturier is playing this season, it would also help to maybe bring in somebody that can further stabilize that position because the wing, you do have guys like Lawton, who has actually been playing fairly well. You have Wade Allison, who's about to probably get called back up soon, who's been playing well in his return to the Phantom. And then you have guys like Willman, who's actually been kind of like the more disciplined, quicker skater, even version of like Knack playing a good game lately since his second call up. At the beginning, he wasn't really. He looked like he was catching up to the game speed, but now he seems like he's kind of getting there and playing much better of late. So I feel like the wing you could add to, and obviously I'm going to welcome Tarasenko or Gaudreau, but I feel like the center position is something because obviously center is one of the most key thing. That's something you could potentially want to add to,
Yeah.
and I would put that as a little bit of a higher priority. But
Okay. Well, That's a lot of Philadelphia stuff there we got. So we'll be able to talk about just about every team if we just talk about the games for the next hour and a half because there's so many of them. Lots of games. We already talked about the one that's canceled. We'll not only talk about the games here. We'll just talk about the teams in general as well, because we're kind of at the quarterly mark. The Golden Knights versus the Bruins, and Smith is out for the Bruins. That I know. I don't know if that was COVID related or not, but that takes a hit on their. There was more than just Smith. There was a couple players I heard that was out for the Bruins right now. Carlo, Marchand. So I'm a little bit. It's a little difficult because Vegas had to travel quite a bit for this game, but it was a couple days ago. I really love the way the Golden Knights are playing right now. Very aggressive, very high speed, high tempo. I don't think the Bruins have much. I don't even get, except for the fact that Swayman is in and Lehner has been a little bit shaky early. I don't see the Golden Knights losing this game.
No, yeah, I feel like is Lehner the confirmed goaltender for this?
Swayman's not confirmed yet.
Okay, yeah, I feel like Swayman's not confirmed. Ullmark has been very good in his back-to-back games, though. The last two, he's been stellar. So, even if he's in, if he can play like that, they have a very good chance, particularly in Boston. I think it'll be a close game, but because the Vegas Golden Knights seem to be really finding their stride, Boston has had to go through a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, and I think that's a little bit of the reason why they're not as squeaky clean. But I feel like I would definitely favor the Golden Knights.
Yeah, without Marchand, it really changes that team quite a bit. He's the one player. Like I don't know. At this point, I'd almost say I would rather go without. I wouldn't want to go without any, except for McAvoy. If McAvoy's out, they're screwed. Like McAvoy is the Boston Bruins defense right now. So, but the way Vegas is playing, I think and talk about more into the lineup that Vegas is putting out there right now. When this team does get Eichel, I just did a video, by the way, speculating the possibility that if Carey Price is available in the offseason, that Vegas would do something. Who knows what they could do? Like they would do something to try to. If Lehner drops the ball in the playoffs, and I think that's really the only sticking point to me that Vegas has, especially if when Eichel comes back, I could see them doing something crazy like that. But when Eichel comes back, this lineup is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, Montreal would have to eat a lot because their cap situation is going to be not the best because of how all the contracts that Vegas has, obviously. But yeah, they could get creative. Particularly though, I mean, I have a little bit more confidence, I think, than you in Lehner, where I also think the Vegas Golden Knights will probably play better when they have Alex Martinez. Like Theodore's day to day. Like if you keep having guys not going in and out of the lineup once people kind of stay steady more and in. I think you'd be playing even better there as well. So I think that's something they're kind of waiting for. But it does say Brandon Carlo's supposed to lace him up today.
If he's going to be in, then
Yeah, because he's supposed to be back in with Matty Grzelcyk, Moore, and Clifton, and then Forbert and McAvoy.
If Moore's going to be in,
Zaboral is not in.
But Zaboral wasn't playing already.
Because Zaboral
kind of
lower body, and then Mike Riley's out.
Riley's who's out. Okay.
Yeah,
Carlo being in does change it a little bit. That's going to be a tough defense to get around. But I think that it's not the most mobile defense in the world, and their speed up front is just absolutely insane. When they get on a roll and get skating, they're really hard to stop, like super hard to stop. So it's not that I don't believe in Lehner. Actually, I've been believing in Lehner ever since he was in Ottawa. You know, when Buffalo made that deal, I didn't know he had, problems that he had, and he went and got some help that way. with his mental health. I didn't know that. The guy's big, he's fast, he's got all the tools, but just this year he hasn't been hitting the stride really very well so far. He may, and if he does, and you don't need to worry about price, but I'm saying if he does happen to falter, I don't see Vegas waiting around to see if he's going to be good next year. They're just not like that. What have you done? Vegas is the what have you done for me lately team.
Well, that's true, but the other thing is they're strapped into a UFA contract not until 2025 at $5 million per.
He'd be part of the
That's why I
deal. He
feel
would
like
be part of the deal for sure.
oh yeah, he could be part of the deal, but that's still a complete $5 million. So like they're still gonna have to figure something out
Dadonov,
there. Like
don't need him. And then worry about the 10.52 3 years from now, whatever.
it'll be interesting. Yeah, it's a great idea in principle. Obviously, it's just something that is a little bit more harder structurally to think as a general as an armchair general
I just
manager.
did a video on it and I got slammed by a very notable individual, McCarthy. Do you know who McCarthy is? Darren McCarthy, I think is his name. He was on a YouTube or on Facebook. He came on Facebook and slammed me for just thinking of any possibility that Vegas would do something like that. So him and I went back and forth a little bit on that.
Well, a team that I have for you, Pearlo, is, and you're going to be surprised I'm saying it, is because I adore their goaltender, and he's one of my favorites. Is if Darcy Kemper doesn't get Colorado
Yep,
over the full hump that they want to get to, I can
yep.
see them
I'm pretty sure I
going for
mentioned
Carrington.
Colorado in that too. There was 5 teams I mentioned in that. Colorado. I'm pretty sure was one of them.
And don't put the Kings past it because Pedersen's
Yeah,
good, but like
Kings. That was
they're
the
a
other
team
one.
right
You're
now.
right. The
Like this
Kings.
year, they have money. Yeah, they have money, but like they're a team that if they didn't have all the defensive injuries they've been going through, guys coming in and out of the lineup, I
Yeah,
believe would be
I
better
agree.
this year, and not just kind of at the
Mm-hmm.
500 mark. So if you can bring in someone
Mm-hmm.
like him, he probably would have stole you a
Yep.
couple games. What not probably Price would steal you a couple games, and that would help you even when you're in this little funk because you have a bunch of guys going in and out of your
Yep.
lineup. So, um, I feel like that's an option for that team there, and then the Kraken, excuse me, could even be an option because their goaltending. Grubauer's been having an off season where, depending how quick they want to trade these people and try to be good, if it's like a 3 year process that next year they want to bring in more people, move on from people that are had good seasons and such forth, depending what they want to do, they could be a possibility because if you look at the numbers for them, they don't allow. I was looking at the high percentage chances and all that. They don't allow that many high percentage, high potent chances
Grubauer
compared
has
to
not
other
had a good
teams.
year this year.
It's just yeah, he hasn't had a good year exactly where they when they've been especially particularly lately when they've been more of an average 500 team they have been not allowing that much of the high potent chances when you look at it by the numbers, and that's why Grubauer is a guy that I still think can rebound, but he hasn't been good this year. You might have to start riding what's his name, Drager, and see what goes on there because it's not really working right now with him. But that's a team that could potentially do that, depending if they think by year three. Because I don't think next year's going to be the year they start winning, but by year three, because you have Price for a couple of years at least, that you'll be able to bring him in
Yeah,
for that.
my leaning is that's not the direction that Seattle is going, but I see what you're saying. Also, it makes sense from a location standpoint since he's from BC and all of those sort of things like that. But I like the LA one. I think LA is the type of team that would do something like that. I do think they have a 3 year window. They don't want to be rebuilding anymore. I think all of those things line up there well. They also have some cap space that they're able to work with. They Peterson, of course, has really maybe not given them the complete confidence that he would be the number one that they want to have going forward. It's possible he would be part of that deal, and Montreal could keep on working for him. I feel like Peterson's that guy that hits a stride around 29, 30. A lot of goaltenders are like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
older 20s.
and
Yeah, like kind of like
yeah,
Campbell did,
something like
like
that.
Campbell
Yeah,
did with
and at this
Toronto.
point, I don't know if they want to wait like that. They'd rather have someone who obviously is able to do it now. So I think LA is a really good one there. I think Vegas was a long shot. I just only reason why I said Vegas is because if any there, who knows? I never thought Peter Angelo was going there. If you looked at everything, you're like, how are they going to do that? And then boom, they did it. Like if they want to do something,
That's
they're
a
going to
valid.
do something, and then worry about the rest later. So that's the only reason why I had them in there.
Yeah. Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
Hajin
they
is an
got
LA fan. He'd be very doesn't sound like he's too interested in that idea at all.
uh, doesn't say, or he just doesn't want to get his hopes up. It could be either of those two things. But see, Alfred, do you think they move quick? He has five something on for next year. With how good he's playing, though, if the Kings are kind of in this because of their injuries, middle wave kind of only 500, a little bit above, I could see some team that has goaltending issues this year with injuries maybe take a stab at it if they eat a little bit of his contract. Because if he's playing at that level, then I don't mind paying him somewhere in the fours, or like the low fours, or especially somewhere in the high threes if he's playing like he's playing this year. Especially if you're a team that really needs goaltending aid.
Yeah, and Price has to prove he can stay healthy to the deadline too. That's the thing.
No, I wasn't
I
talking
know, but
about
I'm just
Price
saying to
now.
add it
Yeah, I was
into
talking.
that idea
Yeah,
that Price gets traded. I think more than likely it wouldn't any to see a large window of help from Price before they're going to invest all that into him. As good as he can
Mhm.
be, I don't see any. I don't see an organization taking a risk like that on him.
It's a big
And it's a big
contract.
contract.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
Eichel was Eichel was an extreme situation because he was forcing himself out. That's how a big contract got traded in season. Normally, we don't see those huge ones get traded in season as much. Where but my prediction, where Johnny said Price to Edmonton, my prediction for Edmonton, honestly, is if they end up getting a goalie, I don't think they'll go for that big of a Kahuna price tag. They could end up honestly being one of the teams if he eats a little bit. For Quick, they would be one of my top two teams, I would say, that might end up if he keeps playing at this level going after him because he doesn't have as big of a price tag. He's a veteran that brings playoff experience, more so than any of the goaltenders you have in there, even including Mike Smith, in terms of winning the cup a few. So I think he's a guy that they could look to because he's not 10 million. He's like the half of the 10 million tag that Price is getting paid. So
Just wait, I gotta bring it back up here. I was just removing some stuff so the stream stays going. Uh, you need I could see the Kings doing it if depending on where they believe they are. But by the way, my next team is Chicago. I'm going to be looking at because a few things that the general manager said about he has a different philosophy than the previous management, which was, of course, Bowman. Now, what does that mean by that? Does that mean that my philosophy is we're going to try to win now all the time? Or does that mean that we're going to be much more open about our rebuild compared to the previous management? Uh, so I don't really know there, but I think it's very possible. They have been playing better under King. Maybe they think they can just keep on rolling and adding. I just don't see it. I think they're going to have to move on there
yeah,
in Chicago.
no, I think they have to. I think they have to retool a guy that I'm about to do a video on because I think best for him and best for Chicago at this point, but particularly him. I feel like they're going to end up moving on from Strome, among other guys. I'm going to do videos on for the Blackhawks. Because at this point, it seems like that's best for him and best for the organization. So I feel like they'll get him to somebody that needs help at center. That even like a team like the Wild, because he only has this year left, if I'm not mistaken. So you're only getting him as a rental, and then if he plays well for you, it's basically a no risk trade for whoever gets him. And then if he plays well for you, you're able to extend him. If not, then you just let him go into the free agency and let somebody else get him. So
Who was that? Sorry, I was talking to.
Dylan Strome, I feel like, will end up being traded
They're
because he's
trying to
still
find a home for him.
like figuring it out years of his career. Where if you can push the right button with him, put the right guys on his line, we already saw him have success not being the most efficient skater. If you can have somebody that develops his skating right, like the Flyers have done it with Lawton, that's why I feel like they wouldn't even be the worst team to try to bring him in because we need center help. Then that could work out. I feel like the Arizona Coyotes screwed him up a little bit, but that's just my own take on that. But
um, I don't know. This is two organizations now. I watch him on the ice. I see a guy who whines too much. He whines too much. It's time to grow up. That's my take on it from the outside looking in. I could be wrong,
I guess,
but he looks like a guy that complains too much. He needs to just put his head down, shut up, and do what you're told, and that's it.
If you look at his brother was a prototypical example of a guy that didn't hit it until 26. I think Dylan's 20, so he still has a couple years. He's just at the age where I would consider you're entering your prime is like at 24 at the earliest, where guys look like they're in their prime younger, but like your prime years are really 24 to whatever age you then. Some guys can make it all the way to 34 or more within their prime, but probably say 24 to like 31 to 30.
He's a late bloomer, I guess you'd say, or late.
Yeah.
He's got to grow up. It's time to grow up, buddy. You know. Anyways, let's get to the next team.
No, yeah, I think he has a chance to be solid, but also nobody grabbed Hudobin to answer your question.
And I didn't think anybody was going to grab Hudobin yesterday.
But also, yeah, to answer the question for I forget who put that in here, but somebody mentioned about the Kings. How do you pronounce that one guy's name?
Kubalik?
Behind, or Eugene. However it is.
Eugene. I think so. He's never corrected
Eugene,
me. I've been calling him Eugene for a while.
Okay, he put in the young goaltending. They do have Jorho Markkinen, who's a long project, but he's developing fairly well in the Liga and playing solid for Sapa. There's another guy they have, David Hronek, who they picked in 2018, I want to say. In 2018, who's playing very good over in North America already because he came over to try to get North American hockey in college at St. Cloud State, which I think is going to be a benefit for him because he's going to come out at 24 and already be a guy that is mature to the point he might not even need that much AHL time to be considered a third stringer. And then you can kind of go from there. Plus, they have Sparks that's playing pretty good in the minors as well. And then they also have Jacob Ingram, who I haven't checked on how good he's playing. But he's mostly played in the ECHL and then played. I know he played one game in the AHL because I was watching that game on AHL TV when he was in. So they have a couple guys. You don't have a guy that I would consider a starter, but you definitely have some young guys. Even Lucas Parik, who they picked in 19, and Matt Velada. They have young guys that could definitely be backups, I would say. But Pedersen is somebody maybe you would hold on to, or you would have another one of those guys as your backups. Because if you get Price, you're not really worrying about it too much at that point, because then one of those guys can become your backups, and then voila, you have that there, just like a Georgiev eventually became Lundqvist's backup in New York.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, like I said, if Pedersen doesn't keep on moving the way they are, they may look to a veteran like that because the window. From everything I'm hearing out of LA, they're now. They're not thinking 5 years from now. They're disappointed with what the team is doing right now. They went and got Dano for a reason, and they want to win with Kopitar. There, and Kopitar's got a couple year window here. So I like the move of Dano, but the young players this year maybe haven't progressed as much as they wanted, or is progressing right where they wanted. I don't know, but I think they believe this team was going to be more in the playoff race than they are this year. And I don't think they're taking a step back the next 2 years. And if they have any question marks about goaltending at all, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a veteran like that. I wouldn't. I'm not saying they are going to, but I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Well, I think it goes back to why they're not as successful this year is mostly the injuries. Like I said, you had Walker get injured. I think it was his MCL and ACL for the entire season. Edler, veteran, got injured. You've had other guys that were out this season. Ali Mata's only played 15 of the games. He's actually been solid with the Kings. Durzee's come up, contributed a little bit as a youngster. So like you have guys trying to move in here. I feel like some of the young guys haven't been bad. It's just as they're kind of one of those teams that you see some of their teams when you watch them lines like the Kaliev, Kapari, and Antetokounmpo line that sometimes they have great setups. They just get everything but the finish, and that's why they have 8 points, 6 points, and 6 points for Kapari and Antetokounmpo have the 2-6, Kaliev with the 8. Where like if they could consistently finish more on their chances, that would also help the Kings out more. But I feel like guys are playing at a solid pace. It's just having the defensive issues where Sean Walker is a very good third pairing defenseman. He's not like always consistently more than that, but he's a solid, very solid third pairing defenseman that you can mix in. And if you add him with Bjornfurt, Durzee's doing his job, but it definitely adds a little bit more of a guy that's been around longer now at the age of 27. You signed him through 2024 for a reason. You have faith that he's one of your guys that you want in your top six all the time. That was an unfortunate injury for them. So I think that plays a huge factor in where
Yeah,
they're
well,
at.
the thing is they haven't the Kings haven't got to that point of depth yet where they can really uh, absorb those kind of injuries, and that's my concern about going for it right away. But that's what they've been talking about, so we'll go with that. Talking about that, since we were talking about the Kings are playing the Lightning tonight. That was a good little segue. Uh, and I think this is going to be a tough game. The Lightning are without Sorelli. They're without Point. They have many significant injuries. And the last two games that the Kings have played, they have played extremely well, and they've beat some very good teams. I believe it was the last two games. They beat the Wild. Now, it was a tired Wild team, but still a strong Wild team nonetheless. They outshot them significantly in that game. And like they're throwing lots to the net. They're playing McClellan style. McClellan's always been known to have teams that shoot an awful lot. Their shooting percentage is usually fairly low, and it seems to be that's what they're back to do. That's his MO, and that's what's happening now. So I'm actually kind of leaning LA in this one a little bit.
Yeah, it has Vazzy expected, quick expected.
Edler's out too now too, right? That hurts.
Yeah, that hurts having your veteran guy out. You have Dursey, you have Bjornfurt come in now as a left-hander who's played fairly well, hasn't produced points, but played fairly well overall in over 18 minutes on night average. So, um, this is one of those teams that's a fun grinding team that plays the real young energy with the guys like Kaliev, Kupari, Moore that's always trying to prove himself in the NHL level guys in the lineup, Grunstrom who's still trying to prove his take, Lemieux who's trying to one not be stupid and also continue to prove himself in the league. You have a team here that plays at a good energy. I think it's just you've been getting shot by defensive injuries where it's kind of like the Blues that one of the big reasons, yeah, it's weird that they're so good at home and not on the road. But one of the biggest reasons probably is because they've been just destroyed by injuries as well. And then they had COVID protocol people as well when they were having issues with the Thunderbirds. They couldn't even call anybody up. So they've been having all sorts of issues. And I think the Kings are a team that because of their defensive injuries, that's a huge thing to point to for why. It's not an excuse, but it's definitely a reason to why they're not exactly where they probably want it to be. 2 games over 500, all things considered, with the people that have been out, I don't think is
Yeah,
a
I
bad
don't. I
thing.
think that they've really done. They wanted to be further than they are, but on the same note, like you're saying, they've done fairly well considering a lot of the things that have happened for sure. Um, yeah, but I just think that in like right now, if we look at Tampa Bay's roster, except for on defense, doesn't look like anything too scary right now. It's Stamkos, Palat, Stamkos, and they're using Tyler Radish on the right hand side. Kaloran, Colton, and Matthew Joseph doesn't have me shaking in my boots too much. Maroon, Bellemare, and Perry, and then the young kid Forte, which they tried in the higher lines and didn't work out with Riley Nash and Kachuk. That's a
No,
that's
he's
a
just not ready
beatable,
to be in the
yeah,
higher
that's a
lines yet.
beatable top 12 for LA, and LA's coming in hot, playing hard. Uh, I'm pretty sure Bassey will be in. He can always steal one for you.
They won back-to-back games, LA. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a tough game to pick because Tampa's still been playing. They lost their last game, but they've still been playing at a very good pace, even with guys like you said. Like all these guys are solid players, but they're guys that are playing up in the lineup. You wouldn't expect them to still be figuring out how to play at a great pace that Tampa plays with John Cooper, but they have been, and excuse me, it wouldn't put it past them to be able to continue to have success even with guys because Colton's a very solid kind of like Swiss Army knife slide player. You won't want him playing the second line for a longevity, but he can do it for the short time. Matthew Joseph is a guy that I feel like is similar to things that you said about Jordan Greenway in the past. I've always thought that he has more offense in his stick than he's shown yet. And then Killorn is obviously a great defensive player that has more passing than shooting ability at this point of his career. But I think they're still a team that is very good and very potent. They have a very good defense, as you pointed out. Cal Foote is really starting to come into his own on the back end as a big boy back there at the age of 23 this year. So I feel like that's still a dangerous team to be reckoned with. This to me, because of the amount of people that are out, particularly also with Sorelli combined with Cernak being out on top of the point and Kucherov guys being out, I would have to say this is a flip the coin game where this is probably more of a bias because I kind of like one of the closet teams I always just enjoyed watching or the Kings because I've loved Quick ever since his Team USA days and everything. So like I'll just go with the Kings as the slight lean since it's a flip the coin game, but I wouldn't bet on that from that information.
I would take the Kings. I think the Kings could have a very good chance of winning, and I'm sure they're getting good odds on that. So I like the Kings. Okay, the next game, and honestly, this is not a slam dunk here. The Senators and the Panthers, and the Panthers are having their own injury issues. Of course, Barkov. I wanted to check what else maybe they might be out of here, but Ottawa is doing seems like they're doing kind of like they did last year. They got a slow start. They had a lot of COVID issues and all that kind of stuff like that, but it seems like they're hitting their stride. And Forsberg is surprisingly to me, because I haven't really ever seen him be consistent, is showing some consistency here, and they're putting a scare into some teams right now.
Well, it looks like the expected starter is supposed to be Gus tonight, though.
Oh, is
Looking
that
on
right?
my thing,
Okay. They're gonna put the kid against kid because Spencer Knight's gonna be in.
Knight's supposed to be going. I mean, I do still. I really like Gustafson. He's just not developing. He's only 23. He's just not developing as quick as some probably wanted. But I mean, I think he'll still be a fine goaltender. Just give him time. Where they also have the kid they picked that he's not going to be up anytime in the near future. But Mads Sogard that they picked at 37 in 2019, who they really like. So they got a couple young netminders there, but I feel like Gustafson and Sogard's also one of the playing very well in the AHL 915-259. I think they have some guys there. I feel like I like him as a player. I think this is a good team. Florida's a great team. The Sens are playing a little bit of better hockey. I feel like this is a good team to try to get him in for a confidence boost as well. But I completely agree with you on Anton Forsberg. He's a guy that's taken advantage of his opportunities in his 10-game stretch and really has been able to play really well, which is going to really help out his stock NHL-wise because we always knew he was a great AHL goaltender that was a good veteran, even if he was a backup down there. That always was good for his team. Now he's starting to figure it out again at the NHL level, and it's for a 10-game stretch, which is your first level of good sample size. So we'll see what he continues to do. They don't have Shane Pinto, who's been injured for most of the season. Unfortunately, Colin White is out for them, as well as
Up the
Brandstrom.
middle's been tough for them, for sure.
Yeah, where you have Akari, Barkov, Lomberg, Marchment, Nudavara, and Forsling, and then Mammon, who's not as key of a guy for Florida. So I feel like there's key injuries for both teams. This definitely has an upset chance because Florida leans a much higher on the key injury side, but I still have to lean the Panthers in this one.
It's just I haven't really been impressed with Florida the last little while. I just want to see what their record is. I know they've lost some fairly kind of surprising games.
They're 6-3-1 in the last 10.
It's like, I mean, like the last couple games. I haven't seen the Florida team that we.
They're on a lose one. They've only lost one in
Yes,
a
the team in general. Where
row.
the heck is it? Where's the game? Oh, right here. Matchup. I got to look at the to remember them. Okay, so it was Duclair is in tonight, which will help. That's for sure. Forsling, questionable, but if I look at Cap Friendly, it says he's in. He's been one of the most. He's probably been one of the most underrated defensemen in the league this year, I think. And Mammon, he was playing well, but what do you got? They lost to Colorado. Barely beat Arizona. They weren't really all that impressive. They lost to a St. Louis team that was dilapidated with injuries, but then again, St. Louis has been beating teams with those injuries fairly well.
Yeah.
So it was just like a little bit of a run here where it was questionable. Now they can bring it back. I'm also a little concerned about this rookie coach being there, and as it's funny I think I take Ottawa with like puck PL on this. Keep it close. I think they'll keep it close. I think it'll be a hard fought game. Keep it close, something like that. But the computer has Ottawa to win this as well. They haven't been right, and maybe it's because of the just Barkov has been so huge for that team. It's starting to take an effect on the roster, or maybe Duclair coming back is going to balance out the lines a little better now or something. I don't know, but they just haven't looked right the last couple of games, even though they have been pulling them out.
Yeah, well, Barkov's estimated return is only in a couple of days. I think it was the 16th when I last
Oh,
looked.
that's
So
good.
if he's able to come back soon, then
They'll
yeah,
be
that
fine.
would be good for them to
Yeah.
be able to.
I
Yeah.
think that might be the major issue there. It would have been much better, I think, if Q would have stayed there too. It's unfortunate that had to happen. All right, let's go to yeah, we talked about the Senators, the Devils and the Flyers. Well, um, the Devils just play too soft. Simple as that. They got lots of skill there. They're trying to put it together. They've been without Hughes for a while, and now he's starting to get his legs going there. Philadelphia has looked better since Yo took over, don't you think?
Literally yes, but minus the game against the opponent we're playing tonight, which is the Devils. That's the game. Against Colorado, your offense looked terrible again, but you scored. And then against the Devils, you looked absolutely terrible. Then of course you beat Arizona. Yes, it's Arizona, but you also beat Vegas, who's a very good team, to end the losing streak. So, I feel like it's now about figuring out. Like the Phillies always had an Achilles heel, a baseball team with the Florida Marlins, no matter how good they are. The Flyers' Achilles heel, no matter how good they are, is the New Jersey Devils, where if you can hit them a little bit better, if you can play a little bit better, like you've been playing along the boards, getting out of the zones better, playing the forechecking game like Willman's been playing better of late, which is I think why they that a guy like Yo's been giving him more like the 11 to 12 minutes on the third line because he just wants that energizer guy that kind of rubs off playing a few more minutes with the way the team's playing because like he talked about, first you have to deal with getting everybody in the right vibes and mindset basically again before you deal with all the strategic stuff that you want to lay out, and putting one of those just lead by example energy vibe players up a line sometimes can do that. And also putting Scott Lawton, who's been one of the best PKers on your team, that's really worked his tail off defensively, that's been arguably better than Cooch defensively this year on the first line, kind of shows people that if you're playing at the right energy and the right style, you're going to get good minutes. And Patrick Brown's been the same way with Yo. He's been getting extended minutes even on the fourth line. He's played some games over 12 minutes, so averaging 11:06. But like, I think if you can play this team tough, like you said, because that's the one thing that is the next level for New Jersey that I'm going to talk about when I do that quarter-ish breakdown for them. But is you got to next season is the big thing is you're probably going to add some jam to that team, as Labby would say, because that's the next step. You have all the talent in the world as youngsters and even more coming up. Now you just need to add a little bit more spunk into
Yeah.
the team. Where the Flyers have that, and they've been playing with a little bit more of it. I've seen a lot more spunk out of TK. He's been a guy that you've been known more for scoring, but he's getting a couple assists lately. Frost has been playing really well of late. Cam's looked very good. Giroux's continued to look good. That's not a problem. And Hayes has looked pretty good with Yo as well, who was a question mark for some people since he was one of like the biggest AVs guy, and he's doing really solid. So it's all going to be about how much jam the kind of the Flyers can bring in this game. Where if they can play with a good amount of physicality, then I think they have a chance in this game. And also, Blackwood doesn't play like Hasek, like he's played a couple times against us. They have a chance in this game. It's just they got to figure out how to beat the Devils, basically, because if they can win this game, they can be one game below 500 and then try to keep building and going from there as they then play the Montreal Canadiens next. So they have to. This is really a big game for them because I think they can also beat Montreal because Montreal is obviously a team that's in shambles. They have to be able to find a way to beat the Devils, and then they could be after the next game back at the 500 mark, which would be a huge stepping stone in the right direction.
Yeah, but to me, New Jersey just hasn't been able to get all the players playing at the top of their game at the same time. You know, Pavel Zach is playing really well,
Yeah, I
and then
don't
he's not
disagree with
playing
that.
really well. He drops off the map, and that's just a young team, right? Uh,
Same with Sharon Govich.
sure,
Yeah, he goes on
yeah, he's
stretches and
not
then
consistent yet. And last year he looked like he was going to beat the world. This year, not so
Johnson's been
much.
pretty consistent.
Jesper Bratt didn't have a good year last year. He's having a good year this year. You know what I mean? Like it's and Thomas Tatar's
Oh, yeah,
like
but
that
this
every
year
year.
Brad's been consistent. Yeah, Brad's been. I would say the most consistent forwards this year have been because Hughes has only played a handful of games, not even 10 yet. He's at 9. Is Janssen and Bratt with Dawson Mercer. That whole line, that second
Mm-hmm.
line they have Janssen, Mercer, Bratt. I would say that whole second line has been their most consistent
Mm-hmm.
forwards.
Yeah. And then, defense pairings were all different this year with Dougie Hamilton coming in. I guess Kevin Ball's going to play tonight. Kevin Ball, the guy they got from the Hall deal from Arizona, he's a big monster of a defenseman. He's only had 2 points in 19 games, but points was never really what he was supposed to be there for.
But yeah, I was just about to say you don't really draft Kevin Ball to
Yeah.
get points. You draft him to destroy people and get in the shooting
Yeah.
lanes. And he's played 7 games already in last season and looked all right. Had a couple
Yeah.
assists and played a good shot blocking physical game. So I think that's a decision probably because of the fact that the Flyers, like I was just saying, if they actually can play that style with some of the guys they have. Lindy Ruff's taking notice. They have guys like Zach McEwen. They have guys like Willman's not the biggest guy, but he will hit. Lawton will hit people. Obviously, you have Risto who does play a good physical game. So I mean, I think he's taking notice of that. That putting in Kevin Ball against us, I'm not too surprised. Where he's a talented young defenseman, we'll see what he's able to do.
They're gonna have to play with pace because one thing that Philly has shown is that they have a difficult time with speedy teams. New Jersey is that, so they're gonna have to get their pace
But
up
they also
and
have
definitely play. They're gonna have to get their pace up, move the puck fast against them. They don't want to be giving up any amount of time in their own zone against that New Jersey team.
they played with much better pace, though. I think like Yo and the team
Yeah,
have been like they've been making much
I agree.
better
I agree.
decisions.
Yeah.
Even with Vegas, like Vegas is not a slow team. But they have some guys that are not the quickest
I
skaters,
don't know
but
what
overall they
happened
have
to
a pretty
Vegas that game. That was
decent
one of the worst games I've
skate.
ever seen. I've seen Vegas play this year.
Yeah.
Like that was
Well, I
terrible.
think it's because the Flyers played a unexpectedly good game. I mean, when you have a team that's
Yeah,
coming in having 10 straight where they look non-structured at
yeah,
all, minus a little bit good offensively against Denver. Oh, well, not Denver, but Colorado. Um, like you're gonna expect them to come in not having a great overall game that's keeping you to the outside. Yes, they got shots, but they got shots that are mostly to the
yeah,
outside and limiting your high octane chances. All of a sudden, the Flyers started doing what they were doing at the beginning of the season, which they were limiting yes, maybe allowing a lot of shots, but limiting your high octane in front of the net shots. And Vegas is probably like, well, where the heck did this come
yeah.
from? So I think it was kind of a shell shock situation, which is not an excuse, but just an observation.
Yeah, I got a little worried right away when I heard they had an interview with DeBoer before that Philadelphia game, and he seemed to me to like he was looked worried that this team wasn't ready for Philadelphia. He was saying like he said these exact words. I hope this team is ready for Philadelphia's a better team than their record shows, and I hope they're ready for it. Which led me to believe that DeBoer did not think they had that mindset going into this game, and they didn't. Like you said, they didn't. So he was exactly right. He had his team pegged. But he didn't actually say that. But a coach wouldn't say that if he wasn't somehow concerned about something that they were doing, maybe the way, just, the whole feel of the day and all that kind of stuff like that.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, I just think that was a weird game that they came out to. But if I had to pick this game, um, being the Flyers at least have the advantage of being here for this one and not in New Jersey, I'll lean slightly towards us playing better in the last two. Where if they can play a little bit more physical and come out and have a good start like we've been against the Coyotes and against the Golden Knights, then I think the Flyers could beat the Devils. It's just they got to get over the hump of kind to figure out how to beat the Devils.
Yeah,
So
nice prediction there, Swerve. Yeah, you got the score and everything. Try to get some odds on that. Next game. I'm gonna go. Philly. I just like the way Yo's going, but I'm probably off the game completely to tell you the honest truth. Um, I just I don't know. I got to see it more that they're going to be able to play a game with speed like that first before I go with them. Penguins versus Canadians, and I just can't see a universe where the Penguins lose this game. How about you?
no, this one I can be quick about. I mean, Yori's playing really solid this year. What is it, a 192 and like in the 9-3, like he's really playing amazing this year. I don't see a universe like you just said in the world that Pittsburgh Penguins lose this game, where I think Sullivan definitely continues to push the right buttons there. Crosby hasn't even been in for all the games. Dayton Heining's playing by far his best season. So like you have guys really playing significantly well in there. And then the Smith's not doing great as a backup. That's why he had to ride Yori. But Yori's playing amazing this year. So goaltending, obviously, that goes a long way. And then they have more good young goaltending in Philip Lindbergh and another journeyman that's very good in Wilkes-Barre and Louis Domingue, who's been up before. But Lindbergh's a solid young goaltender. So I believe, like Pittsburgh, like I've said before, wrapping up, I think they'll win this game. Is a team that until they miss it with this era of their guys, even though Malkin's been out with the Malkin, the Tangs, and Crosby's, I'm never going to rule them out of the playoffs. I made that mistake last year, so until they miss it, they're in the Boston category for me. I'm not ruling them out until the leadership group is gone.
To tell you the honest truth, I actually think this Pittsburgh team, system-wise, is playing better than ever. Like them in Carolina right now, systematically are playing at a level that's beyond everybody else, I believe. Maybe, they may not have the manpower. I think Carolina's got the better manpower to play in it, but Pittsburgh is playing beautifully. The way they transition into, if they want to play a 1-1-3, if they want to play a man-on-man, it's like everybody just knows what to do in every situation, every period, every moment. And they're surprising the crap out of me. Like, I thought it's like a new level here. They're playing. They look at the last game they beat Anaheim. They knew that the way they were going to beat Anaheim in that game, the last thing they wanted to ever do is run and gun with them. And they basically played a 1-1-3 man-on-man all game and just gave them nothing. And Anaheim has been running, has been going roughshod on teams a lot. And they even when they have lost, they've had really good chances. Pittsburgh smothered them. Absolutely incredible. And I'm against a Montreal team that has no confidence whatsoever. I don't believe even really almost gets to the point now where it looks like they don't even want to be there, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like they're in that period where, yeah, they're kind of in this unfortunate down period of time where they have to try to find an energy. So yeah, I mean, I don't see this game going any other way than Pittsburgh winning. A guy that I'm surprised, even though Simone has not been playing bad, but that they haven't caught up because he got 4 points in 8 games last year, and he's playing good for Wilkes-Barre. The huge undrafted kid Zahorna, who played pretty good last year, I would probably expect him to be caught up again soon if he keeps playing like he's playing in the AHL because he's a perfect fourth liner, 6'6". When you're going up against like a guy like McEwen for the Flyers or a guy like Wilson for the Capitals, he's a perfect guy to be able to have on the ice to be able to kind of deter those guys a little bit.
Yeah, that's the one thing is that I mean they've been able to keep the injury situation at bay and stuff like that. But if they really do got to go deep into their lineup, you never know. But I don't know. This team, just like you said, just keeps on getting it done no matter what. If they're going to play like that, I don't know if a rebuild is. It's like so hard to rebuild this team when you see them play systematically the way they play out there. It's very difficult to do because if you play like that, you've always got a chance. And with like you said, with Jari playing, this goaltender coach that they brought in, I guess was his goaltender coach in the AHL before or something like that, same as like Jones in Philadelphia. They brought in a guy that was familiar with Jari, and he's crushing it. Like he's playing extremely well. He doesn't look anything like
It's all
the
about
playoffs goaltender we saw.
it's all about having the right voice for you, and obviously they matched it up correctly there. And the thing with Pittsburgh is they just don't have the next wave of your Malkins and Crosby's, but they have a couple guys like I mentioned, Zahorna. Philippe Hollander's a nice player. Samuel Poole and Legary, who's a couple years away, but like they have a couple guys that are solid players. Even Drogues, obviously POJ Pierre Olivier Joseph. Like they have some fun guys to watch for Wilkes-Barre. As much as I hate saying it, being a rival of the Phantoms, but they have some fun guys. It's just they don't have those replacers of the leadership group, but they can still find that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what this team does moving forward. They of course also have Gensel as week to week rust has been out, and they're still figuring out ways to do it. So like you said, they always figure out ways to do it. So I definitely am going with Pittsburgh for this one.
Hockey News Reports is back just as we're leaving the Montreal game, but it's no surprise we're not taking Montreal. We did a. I think you've already watched it, H&R. I just put a price traded the 5 teams out there. I did Petrie and Gallagher. All of those, even though I'm not a Montreal Canadiens fan, it makes my gut hurt to think about any of those guys leaving Montreal, but it may be that they have no choice or whatever Gorton does. I just don't think you hire Gorton and not do a rebuild of some kind. That's exactly what you hire a guy like Gorton for. Hi.
Yeah. Well, also with the amount of people out for Montreal, I don't see them having it. So you have Evans, Dvorak, Wyman, Willett, Anderson, Byron, Edmondson, Gallagher, Niku, Petrie.
Their whole team's out.
Like Toffoli.
They're I don't know. Yeah, I doubt all those guys are very injured, but they're tanking. They're tanking all day here. There's no doubt about it. They're going for the draft pick, and that's it. So.
Well, some of them are in COVID protocol, like Brandon Gallagher.
But even COVID protocol, you could like if the guy's got the sniffles or whatever, like there's a lot of ways. A normal thing would be like, if he has any signs and symptoms. Well, what? I'm tired. So that's a sign and symptom. You're in your thing. Like certain teams are gonna. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't doubt it. I just know that. I just think that organizations will use whatever they can to get to do what they want to do. And if they want to tank, a guy that would normally play will not play in those situations, right? So, and I think that's you see an injury list that big for a team that has no chance.
So you got to go with the other team. Yeah, unless if it's one of those teams that is like the Yankees in baseball that just pick it up all the time, or how we talked about Penguins have picked it up no matter what the heck has hit them, or the Blues. You usually have to go with the other
Yeah.
team.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, especially if we're picking sides here, no doubt about it. I will be blown away if the Canadians win that game. Red Wings versus Islanders, and the big one here is Barzal won't be playing this game, and I was on the Islanders here, but now I think I'm just going to completely be off this game altogether because the Red Wings still don't really. The defense really, yeah. I think the Islanders will be trying very hard. They want to get back in this thing. I think the Red Wings could win. I think the Islanders could win, especially with Barzal out. I'm not all that sure which one I would go here. What about you?
I would lean Red Wings because Nedeljkovic has been amazing. Not that Sorokin's been bad, but Nedeljkovic has been amazing. It's in Detroit. We know how much Hockey Town can get loud and add that extra support. Sider's been absolutely bonkers, and Hronek, the two young guys, have been very good from a defense that has been suspect overall. So like Letty's not having a great overall season, for example, for one. But the young guys have been doing really well. And even that Renouf kid in 4 games, I don't think has looked bad because you can't expect a bunch from somebody like him who's undrafted. You just get what you get with guys like that.
He's been in the
I think
organization
they're
for a
a team.
long time. They keep on bringing him, and
Yeah,
you keep on bringing him up. A couple times a year, they bring Renouf up. I don't know why, but they do.
well, I think it's because he's just kind of one of those good depth defensemen that's really solid when he's with Grand Rapids, and then when it's the NHL, he just does what he does type thing. But I think this lineup, they have Mark Stahl out, they have Lindstrom out and Stretcher, so it would have been nice to have some of those guys in. But I feel like having Barzal and also Ryan Pulick, who's one of your defensive anchors, with Adam Pellick, who forms one of the best defensive lines in hockey. I'm definitely going with Detroit in
Brock
this
Nelson's back though. That helps out a bit. I thought he was. I
That
thought he
helped.
was out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been out a while too, so I think he's probably going to be a little rusty. And then these lines are going to be playing with each other that normally don't play with each other. They're putting Oliver Wahlstrom in the middle between Parise and Anthony Beauvillier, who was a healthy scratch, actually.
I think that's more of a trot strategy. We've seen him do this in the past to like wake somebody the heck up.
Yeah, for sure. Because he's only got 7 points in 21 games. They expect way more offense out of him than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it could be difficult for the Islanders for sure tonight because when you switch the lines up like this, they're not used to playing against each other, playing with each other, and you're playing against a very fast Detroit team. A tough game. I think that the Islanders, though, their will to win might be greater in this one. Like that might be the one that gets them past. But you see 4-3, really? I think the way Nedeljkovic is playing, Sorokin's really hit his stride. It could be over, I suppose, but without Barzal in, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm off of this game. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see it being that high scoring where it wouldn't have anything to do with the goaltending because the Islanders are missing one of their most key defenders in Pulick, and you have guys that are missing that are key to their defense that help. Even though Mark Stoll's not the same guy anymore, he's actually played solid as a veteran. Troy Stretcher's a fast skating defenseman where you're adding in somebody that's slow and Danny DeKaiser to replace him. So like, and Renouf's not the quickest skater either. So like, you're missing a couple guys there as well. So I could see it from that perspective. Being why it could be a higher score and not have anything to do with the goaltending. But my take, if I'm giving a score, would be more if the highest would be 3-2 for this game. But I'm going to go with a lower score and make it 2-1 Red Wings.
I think we've lost. I have a playback error. Can you? Yeah. Tap retry. Okay. You can still see us, right?
Yeah, we're still on my screen.
Okay, on my studio thing, it doesn't show us. That's all right. As long as they can see us. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I just think the Islanders might pull it through anyways, but I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. It's just a gut.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go on my gut on this one, and I just think that the Islanders may pull it. I just think that this is the point where the Islanders are starting to get desperate. I feel like they're the more desperate team to win, and then because of that, that they may just pull it through. I think they got a lot of their defense back too. Oh,
Minus
yeah,
Pulik. Yeah,
Pulak has been a
that's
big
all.
loss. Yeah, tough,
Yeah,
tough
that's why
game,
I think they're going
tough
to lose.
game. I think let's put it this way: Detroit better be ready for a tough game tonight. I think the Islanders are going to play them hard tonight, and we'll see if they can be able to have the pushback necessary because they definitely outskill the Islanders here. I think those two big kids, their young legs will definitely outskill them. I just wonder if the pushback is going to be a little tougher for the Islanders. Next game. Jets versus Sabres, and the Jets worry me this year. They've been so inconsistent. I I still think that they'll probably pull through this game, but that Luukkonen kid's looking a lot better than I thought he would. We'll see how he can do over and over and over again. Like he's just had two good games, but he's looked pretty good for the Sabres so far.
Well, he's been very good. I mean, he's still a very young goalie, obviously only at 22. He's been very good since he's been in the last year and a half, especially in Rochester. So I think he's developing nicely. He just, obviously, with these foreign kids, some guys click it right away, and then other guys, they have a little bit of an adjustment period to the North American game. And there's no issue with that. I think he was the little bit of the adjustment period where now we're seeing it, but the Sabres as a whole, their defense has been playing pitiful. Their team has been playing bad. They're 1-7 in their last 10. Like 1-7-2, that would make them. So they haven't been playing good hockey. The Jets have not impressed me overly what I thought
No.
they could do this year. But you're going against a very downtrodden Sabres team that was more impressive at the beginning of the season with how competitive they were and how they were able to stay with the pack. Will of late, not so much. I would definitely have to go with the Jets in this one.
See if you tell me down there when we're doing this too. I want to hear what you guys got there for your picks. I don't know why I got a gut on Buffalo here, but my brain won't allow me to take them because of what you said, like because of for obvious reasons they haven't played all that well this year. I The Jets defense just hasn't been clicking this year, and
No, it has.
that's really what it comes down to. That defense that they put together.
But they're playing the Buffalo Sabres defense, who also hasn't been like that's what like that's the balancing thing. They got a much better offensive star power to push with than the Sabres do, and I think that combined with the way the Sabres even been playing, this could be an ugly game. But I feel like the Jets are going to be able to win it.
This is the first game of the Western road trip for Buffalo, right? They're on the Western road trip here now.
I'm 95% sure, but I
I'll
haven't
look
looked
at
at
it
their
right now.
schedule.
I'll look at it right now. Buffalo. Okay, yeah, no. They're playing the Jets, then Minnesota. They're coming all the way out here to Western Canada to play the Jets,
That's,
and that's it.
uh,
And then Minnesota, which isn't
yeah,
too far away, but
uh,
usually when you come out here, you play all the teams, right?
the NHL has been weird with some of the road back and forth this year. I've noticed with the way things have been.
My computer's moving really slow because of the stream going on at the same time. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So they played the Capitals, and now it's what? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 2 days later, they make the trip. Yeah, I'm still going to go. I still got to go to the Jets. No matter how I try to twist it, logic says that the Jets should win that game. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
like totally huge on it though because the Jets have been so inconsistent so far this year that I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't be surprised if they take this
Speaking of which,
lightly or something like that.
what are your thoughts when we went over the Red Wings and Islanders game? We glossed over the fact that Fabry
Oh
re-signed.
yeah,
What are your thoughts on his?
It's a 3-year, so it kind of tells me that
It's a
Stevie
bridge.
Eisman
Yeah.
doesn't think that there's anybody in the organization that's going to take that spot in the next 3 years. And even if they are, even if somebody does take that spot, no, maybe that's not true. If somebody does take that spot, I'm pretty sure there isn't a no movement clause attached to it, so he can move them. So he provides a good winger for them until there's a guy that can take that
Yeah,
spot.
he has to
Ultimately,
walk.
I think he
Correct.
would want some of the young guys to take that spot from him, to win that spot from him. But seeing that it doesn't happen, then they have him there, and he hasn't been playing that bad. So it's a decent move. He didn't like break the bank either, did he?
No, he's getting
4 million.
paid or something. Yeah, 4 on the dot. That's going to go up from the 2.95 salary he had. So up about
Right.
$1 million, a little
And
bit
he
over a
doesn't have a
million
no
bucks.
movement clause or anything like that. So somebody takes it. Fabry at 4 million is going to be there's going to be value in him. So they could, probably he's a 40 to 55 point guy that, doesn't hurt your team. Somebody out there will find value in a $4 million guy that can do that, especially if you're tight to the cap and you do a little offense and
If
depth.
they choose to trade him.
So yeah, it gives him tons of options, and he earned it. He worked hard, Fabry, to get to in Detroit to get to become what he has. He's
Yeah, from his Blues days to here in Detroit. Yeah, I
mhm.
agree.
So good for him, and that it shows well to your young players that you're going to take care of these guys that work their butt off to capture a spot. So yeah, I like the deal. It's a good deal, no doubt about it. Next game. Tough one here with the
St.
Stars and the Blues. I mean,
Dallas.
the Blues, the injuries and COVID, and we already talked about Lindgren knocking it out of the park the way he's knocking it out of the park. And they've got tons of injuries, but they still seem to get her done. Problem is, you're going against a Stars team that really is hitting its stride right now.
And you're going on the road, which we just said is the Blues bugaboo. That's the thing this year that has not been their strong suit. Where at home they've been great, on the road they've been one of the more mediocre teams in the league. So this is a big road test for them that can maybe get them going in the right direction. But it's going to be tough because you have Bozak, Fall, Kyrou, like you said, Bennington's still out, Hughes, so Costin, Piron, Shen, Thomas. Where if you're looking at Dallas, they got guys like Kivarana, Radulov, and Hintz, and then of course Bishop, who's not coming back. But they don't have as potent of injuries. They're at home. I'm definitely going with the Stars in this one because the Blues just haven't looked like the same team for whatever reason. On the road, where if they can get this win, I think it'll spin their mentality on the road to make them a more confident road bunch. But I don't think it's going to be able to happen with the amount of people they have out and the way that the Stars are playing this season and the defensive system the Stars are playing when you're running with some of your B backups in your offense now for the Blues.
No,
So
I'm giving the edge to Dallas with Ottinger in that. Finally, I think they have come to the conclusion that Ottinger is the best goaltender. But in fairness, we've all seen what can happen with young goaltenders, right? So I think they've been kind of having kid gloves with Audie, but really, when he's in, he's just rocking. He's rocking.
yeah,
Uh, he's their number one, and with him in tonight, Lindgren has been great. But now teams like Lindgren was playing in the AHL. Teams generally don't have video on AHL guys still to this day. I mean, I'm really kind of surprised that they do that. But, they may bring up what they can at the time when they know a guy like Lindgren's going to be in and they quickly look at it and stuff like that. But until players get an actual feel of what's actually happened in there, we have 0 people watching right now? Is that true? Tell me if my concurrence is off here. Maybe my stream is all messed up. Odd that we would have went from 12 to 0 that fast. But with I they will have a more of a read on him, is what I'm saying now, than uh, previous teams were playing Lindgren. It's 3 games now. I'm pretty sure they got a lot of video. He he isn't in the AHL until he's 27 because he didn't have holes, more than likely. Maybe he falls through the cracks, but he did play in Montreal where they have a tendency to do weird stuff. But I think it's possible Dallas has a little more of a read on him than the previous teams that were playing him.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that he just took longer to figure it out. Where we'll have to see. I mean, he's a backup guy. If he's going to make it, he's going to be a backup. I don't foresee him being a future starter. But it also looks like for the Blues, Alexei Toropchenko is going to make his debut tonight. Who they got in 2017. He's slated to be with Pekka in Dakota. Where the Blues, though, to just solidify your point of how they've been having everybody with the next man up, I still favor Dallas in this game. But a rarity guy out of the United Kingdom playing in the NHL, Nathan Walker, 5 points in 3 games, 4 goals in 3 games. Who the heck would have saw that coming from an undrafted kid from the United
Oh
Kingdom?
yeah,
Not
Walker.
or not an undrafted
Yeah.
kid, a third round pick from the United Kingdom, but a kid that never made it with his former team and never came to became anything with the Capitals. Was actually played with your Oilers for a couple games, but yeah, not undrafted. He was a third round pick, but he just never cut it in the NHL until this season, where he was always just a good scorer in the
Our
AHL
stream
level.
is
So,
dead. We're buffering.
it's still working on my phone.
Really? Not mine. Yeah, not working. Move it all the way up to the top. You might be behind on a bit. It's not working.
No, you just said it's not working, and
Oh, really? You're hearing it, but you can't see us? Maybe mine's buffering. It doesn't show.
it must be something wrong on your end, because on mine is still fine, but it says we have 0 because of something. It must be a connection thing with YouTube or something.
Yeah. People don't just leave out that way. If there's, I checked on. Yeah, and nobody's answering. Yeah, it's not working.
It's weird because it's still fine.
For you?
Yeah, like
I got nothing on my phone when I bring it up. Okay, wait, maybe now I do. Oh, now I do. Now it's working. Hello, how you doing? Now I can hear everything. Weird. Okay, so we're back. That's odd. Okay, anyways, let's go to the next game. That is strange. Leave it up to my streams for stuff like that to happen. Tell me if you can still hear us down there. Before you head out, tell me if there's a problem or whatever. Rangers versus Avalanche, and I'm leaning the Avalanche here. Gorgiev has been playing well. But there's injury issues everywhere right now. Like there's so many injury issues with.
Landeskog, Taves, Byram for them. Yeah,
Yeah, Devin Tays. I don't like him out of that lineup. He's that's a different team without him in there. And now they're gonna have Jack Johnson playing top line left D with McCarr, Eric Johnson with Gerard, and McDermott with the young Justin Barron. And then Darcy Kemper hasn't really been hitting stride this year.
no, but also a big part of that has been Colorado has been a terrible defensive team for most of the. They've been mostly, if you just look at their product on the ice, they've been one of the teams that have been winning similar to your Oilers because of how good their offensive battles have been between teams, and not because they've been playing a squeaky clean defense, and also because of their whatever the numbers say, the numbers, but also because if you put them on the power play, they have a very dangerous power play because you have Rico Rodden, you have Kadri playing at the level he's at, you have Newhook, you obviously have McKinnon and Burakovsky. So yeah, they're a team that I think they're going to win this game because of their offense and just continue to figure out a way that way where this is going to be probably more of an offensive game, so to speak, where that's how the Rangers have been winning. Where obviously Shesterkin's on the IR, which is unfortunate because Georgiev's been playing better. But obviously, I don't know if this is the best game because he's been playing better of late. But to have him in against a Colorado team that's a very big push at offense and just a struggle bunny defense, so they're going to be uber aggressive, I think, with the way that their defense is because they're not going to want you getting the puck in their defensive zone too often tonight with the lineup that you just spelled out. Now, Barron, I do like as a youngster, but I'm just talking about you got guys like Jack Johnson that high up the lineup. That's not what you
Yeah, and
want.
that's the thing is that New York Rangers aren't really a shutdown team, and I think Colorado
And
isn't
Neil's
afraid to turn this into a shootout if they have to. Maybe they may say because they have ability to play a defensive game, but without Tays in there, I think this could be a shootout.
and Lundqvist also is a very good right shot young defenseman for the Rangers who's been playing good on both ends and been doing pretty good on the power play. So he's not in the lineup
Yeah,
tonight either way. I think
yeah.
that makes a little bit bigger of an impact as a young player. I did a video on him recapping the NHL draft from 18 because I think 3 years is about what you have to give to start judging. And he's been a pretty good player for them thus far. Where him being out, I think, is a little bit bigger of a bugaboo than some people lead on. So he's day to day with a non-COVID related illness. They have it
Yeah,
listed as.
Libor Hajic goes in, and he hasn't been able to establish a spot on that roster. In the AHL, he's a defensive defenseman that really hasn't impressed. And his after being traded, brought in from Tampa Bay, I believe that was when they traded JT Miller. They got him
I
back,
think
yeah,
so. Yeah.
and he hasn't been able to establish himself a spot there. Um, Next, Oilers Leafs for Leafs are going to win that game. Simple as that. I got
Yeah, you got Robinson, Spezza, Marner, Rasmus Sandin out, so that makes a factor. But then you have McLeod, Hyman, Cliff Bond's obviously still out. Duncan Keith, Chris Russell, Smith, and Stalock are still out in net, obviously. So if Edmonton wins this game, it's going to be an offensive. Whoever battles the offensive, Tampa can or not Tampa. Toronto can play the better defensive structure they've been playing this year. Then yeah, I agree. This is going to be Toronto all day. I would think. Even in Edmonton because they have guys that are coming out of the lineup, like you said. McLeod's kind of one of those underrated bottom sixer type guys that I think plays a pretty good game that adds a little bit of spunk to your lineup there. Uh, the team just hasn't been playing good enough defense. Toronto obviously is a very good offense when you have guys like Tavares, Nylander, and Matthews. Even with Marner out, you still got a very good offense, and even with Sandin out, you still got pretty good guys on the back end. I definitely think Toronto will win this game.
Yeah, I have no faith in Edmonton Oilers' defensive system. Players that they have playing defense. I think they are getting a few more. I think Keith is coming back today. Was possible.
It doesn't have it
Oh, is
listed
he
on
not even
here
back
that
either? So I'm just going to look up here. Yes. Oh, yeah, Duncan Keith. It's in the lineup, but duration still says day to day. So maybe it's a game time. But
probably a game time
honestly,
decision
he
here because
doesn't
hockey.
turn the needle all that much either. So the way they have been playing, and without Hyman in there, Hyman's probably been their, besides Drysdale and McDavid, their best player, I think. And now he's out.
I think Nuge has had a pretty good season
Five on
too,
five, he
assist
hasn't been
wise.
that great.
Um, Well, no, but your whole team for the most part hasn't been that. Like the Oilers as a whole are not a very good 5-on-5 team, so I'm not going to harp on one guy for that. But I think overall, he's been fine for getting paid the 5 and whatever he gets paid for this season. So the biggest issue with the Edmonton Oilers, like Peyton pointed out before, is you don't have anything going on in that bottom six. Zach Cassian playing over 12 minutes a night is not a thing of beauty. Devon Shore has not done much in 11 games. Derek Ryan is what he is. He's more of a fourth liner than a
Yep.
third liner. Kyle Torres is just not a good player anymore. Tyler Benson, I don't mind, is a young guy just think he needs time to develop. He took a stupid penalty when he got put back in the lineup a couple weeks ago, and that seemed to kind of screw with his head a little bit because I don't think he's looked very good since that game. Skeevier has been more of a penalty kill guy and nothing much else. So you don't have
Actually,
scoring from the
Skeever is
bottom
one of their
six.
better top six. Like he's really been that's not a good thing. This is a guy that probably isn't going to
Well, no,
make a
I'm just
lot of
saying now
lineups, but yeah,
they have him slated to play in the bottom six
no,
now because they have Fogle
that's
and
what I mean. He's
Yamamoto
been
and
their better
Hopkins.
bottom six. Is what did I say? Top? I meant to say bottom.
Oh,
Yeah,
bottom six. Okay, I
he's
thought
been
you
their
said top
better
six, and
bottom
then that's
six.
what.
I actually
So I
he's
agree
been
with that because
playing
he's been
so
a key.
well. They
He's
should
been
almost put him on the top six compared to everybody else. Uh, Good afternoon, Ron. Thanks
well,
for
he's
coming in.
been your man's Ricard, or not Ricard Raquel, Jakob Silverberg, where he's just playing great defensively and not doing anything offensively. Where Jakob Silverberg at least does a little bit offensively and plays great defensively. Where that's not bad to have, and it kind of does what I said with the Flyers. If you move somebody up like that, even to the third line, you could replace Devon Shore for Darn Shore or Zach Cassie and move him to the fourth line, and then you can move them up a little bit, and it shows people you're rewarding the guys, and I think that certainly helps. But yeah, it's tough because Nima Linen, I like him as a big boy defenseman, but he's not ready for the NHL yet, so you have to keep bringing him up. Broberg seems like he could definitely use more seasoning with the Condors himself. So having guys like Koku, having guys like Russell go down now, especially who's been very good this year, it all just adds up when your defense is already not playing sharp at all. So if the Oilers want to get it going with the way that Koskinen has more been playing this year and Skinner's been playing, if you're able to have Smith come back and make an impact, um, that could go a long way. And maybe you then can just focus more on the defense because their defense is not great. Like a line of first of all, a line of Duncan Keith and Tyson Berry doesn't make
No,
any sense because you have two defensemen that are not good
no,
defensively,
exactly.
that are more push the pace offensive
Yeah.
defensemen, which I don't understand why those two are together
Barry and
most of the
anybody,
time.
that's the problem. There's a whole makeup of that defense is not very good. They got to
Well,
if they
Barry
can find a way
maybe look decent
to
as
get some
an
general
offensive
manager to
defense.
bite on Barry for. Yeah, Elliot, how you doing? Awesome, thanks for coming in, buddy. Uh, Anyways, Toronto, I unless McDavid and Draisaitl, but they have to McDavid and Draisaitl have to come back so much and help that defense deep too often that they're bagged by the time they get to the offensive zone, and then that's it. They're screwed. So, uh,
Yeah, well, I think the best defenseman that's not named Chris Russell, who's not in, has been Evan
oh, for sure,
Bouchard.
Evan Bouchard is their best defenseman, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. No trade Cody Ceci.
Because Nurse is again an offensive defenseman than an overall well-rounded, where he's much better than someone like Seth Jones as a well-rounded defenseman, but he's still not. He's more of a offensive stalwart than a great two-way defenseman.
Steel Flyers, yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, and now they can't even see it.
Granted, you might be a more well-rounded defenseman than Seth Jones, Pearlo. So
Yeah, well, yes, yeah.
I don't
Manscaped,
even know
he's
he
played
played
better as of late. He's an offensive defenseman. You got to go.
he's played good. I agree. It's just well, yeah, he's an offensive defenseman, but that's not what like the problem with Seth Jones is the rhetoric that there was where he was supposed to develop like how in the playoffs he played those ridiculous minutes. Like everybody thought he was going to develop more into what he wasn't. So now that he's not that, he gets hit for a lot of stuff. Which yeah, some of it's unfair, but it's because you're the Chicago Blackhawks. You decided to pay him that much money. You paid him into the tier of you're one of the best of the best. Where for the offense output he puts, if he can put up like 70 and up offensive defense seasons, then yeah, what do you do on defense? Who gives a crap? But if you're not doing that, then yeah, you're going to want to tighten it up a little bit on the other end and at least play to the Darnell Nurse level on the other end, which is at least tolerable or to average on the other end, depending what given week you're playing with him.
Yeah. Elliot says Price is going to Vegas. I can only imagine he watched my video and he's making fun of me. Or not, or actually thinks so. I don't know. But we'll go on. We got 10 minutes left. So
I think we only have one more game.
We only have one more game to look at? Oh, no, we got more than we got two. Sharks. We got no Flames. That's right. We got two. Blue Jackets and the Canucks. There was something that happened with the Canucks too. I think they're out a defenseman that was pretty. I think they're out.
Isn't OEL out?
No, I don't think OEL is out. It's
no, OEL is out. I think.
Is he? Well, I was on Vancouver, but I don't know if that's the case then because they don't have anybody left on D. Demko can't do everything. Oh, he is out.
Let me see. I'm not sure.
Hughes, Noah, Juleson, Pullman, Myers, Hunter, and Hunt and Burrows. Ouch. That hurts.
Now I don't know why the hell he's up on the first line, but somebody that I actually don't think is a terrible defenseman that just hasn't found it yet. I thought he's been a pretty good defensive defenseman in the minors. He just got picked in a bad spot in the draft. I don't think Noah Juulsen's a bad overall defenseman. It's just he shouldn't be.
Injuries has been so tough for him.
Yeah. Well, also injuries has kicked his behind. You're absolutely right. That's a good point as well. But first line's weird. I don't know why they didn't just. I don't think he's playing with Brad Hunt, who's a very limited player that he's been playing with, or he's been playing with different guys down there like Hamonic or whoever. I think that's affected Burrows in his 24 games. I would have, since he has 24 games under his belt this year and he's right-handed, I would have flipped that to give Noah Juulsen time to get back adjusted to the NHL speed rather than saying, we're throwing you right in here with Quinn Hughes and good luck with that. Well, I mean, that's a fine strategy, I guess, because obviously Hughes is more of a push the pace. Juulsen played pretty damn good in his own end. So, especially since he's been getting better at that with Abbotsford. Like, I remember watching him, I think it was last week, it might have been 2 weeks ago on AHL, where, like, he made one of those great, like, where you just reach around somebody but don't hook them and just take it off of their tape and then push the play the other way. So I think he's a very solid defenseman. It's weird that he's just on the first line in his first game back up, but it'll be exciting to see what he's able to do with getting his opportunity again.
Yeah, that is going to be cool. I'm going to want to watch it for that reason. God knows they need somebody to come up and surprise or something in Vancouver.
I think he could be that guy. Yeah, it's just weird to start him on the first line.
Maybe it's just there. Maybe he was there. Like, who knows? He may not play there. Maybe he will. Maybe he could be just doing it 5-on-5. I don't know. We'll see. It's a tough situation to be put in for Boudreau. You got, not the line. Like that's a lot of hits in the lineup.
Boudreau who. Yeah, I'm not going to question how he does it because, like I said, structure line-wise, the way that both defensemen work player-wise, it makes sense. It's just weird to put that much pressure on.
Well, look, he's got Jason Dickinson up on the top line with Horvat and Hoglander, too. Right? So he's...
Yeah, no, like he does those different things. Yeah, like he does some of the things that we've seen the Wild do with Everson, where like you move Victor Rask around and sometimes you see him higher than you. So Boudreau is definitely one of those coaches. He slides Pucolz and he moves Pearson up sometimes. He moves Pearson back down, moves Pucolz back up. Sometimes he even moves Tyler Mott. Because this team, their lineup is a lot of Swiss Army knife players with the Millers, Bessers, and Horvats of the world, where you have a lot of guys that can slide between wherever you put them. Where Hoglander's been one of the more consistent mainstays on the first line.
Yeah. With Columbus, Max Domi is back now. Jack Rosovich got scratched and has looked pretty good since he's come back from that scratch. He's kicking the pants by Larson. Jacob Voracek is doing Voracek things. just just sitting around the perimeter mostly and with deft passes. He's a great passer. 1 goal and 21 assists. He's been playing Gregory Hoffman up there on the
Shootouts,
top.
though.
Oh,
He's been
shootout.
a
Yeah, he's a
shootout
shootout
wizard because
wizard.
they've been
Yeah,
in a
for
couple
sure.
shootouts. Yeah, he's a shootout wizard. He has had a couple clutch He has more goals in shootouts this year than he has
And
in games. I think he
they
has
have
2 or
probably the
3.
most underrated fourth line in the league of Corrali, Tessier, and Robinson. That
Robinson, I love her.
Yeah,
Robinson.
it's an underrated bottom fourth line, and yeah, I gotta now that I see all that defensive issues, Demko will probably keep him in. It'll probably be close, but I'm gonna go with the Jackets on this now. I was on Vancouver, but I don't think there's really any scheduling issues here. Both teams should not be tired. I do like Vancouver's energy. They're going for their third or fourth win in a row here too, right?
I believe it's for the.
Yeah, they
Hold on.
beat.
Let me
Did
turn
they
this.
beat LA, Boston, Winnipeg, and Carolina, or was it Boston?
They're going for their 5th win. They're already
Fifth
at a win
win,
for.
right?
So this should be the 5th win in a row. I mean, I think they have a chance in this game. Their injuries are going to hurt them. I think Columbus also has a great chance in this game. You pointed out they have one of the most underrated fourth lines. Which one of the main reasons I think Texier is on the fourth line is just because of one, how good he's playing as an undrafted guy, but two, not just the chemistry he has with the third line, but the way that the size is of the player. You're going to play Justin Danforth, somebody like him on your third line. You're not going to put a dude that's 5'9" on your fourth line because that would be completely idiotic and just not a very good thing for that player's well being. So I think the structure of the lines are also just by necessity of the way that their player structure is. But I think they've been having a lot of good gelling a lot quicker than they expected with this Blue Jackets team. I think people thought this was going to be the year of where the heck are we going to go and who's the guys that we're keeping, who's the guys are moving on from, where are we at type thing. Where it seems like they are going to be a competitive team. Where I would have to lean with them in this one because the Blue Jackets are a perfect example of how I said the Flyers were, excuse me, in 1920, where they don't have anybody that leaps and bounds minus Bjorkstrand really for just doing it assist wise, but Bjorkstrand as a whole that is really carrying the weight of the team. They have kind of a whole 4 line structure that's getting it done, and whoever comes in like Danforth in his 10 games. Obviously has been making a huge impact. Robinson, since being there as an undrafted guy, has made a huge impact. Gabriel Carlson's playing pretty well down there, and then Jake Bean, I thought, has played very good of late. So, I mean, I think you're pushing all the right buttons down there. All you have to do is get your backup goaltending
Mm,
going, and you're good because Corpusalo is not having a great season, but that's something that you can figure out in
yeah,
time.
yeah. There was something about Corpusalo, but I read something about him, but I don't know. Can't remember what it was. Anyways, I got to move on because I got to be off here at 3:30, and we got one more game to go. But it's pretty square, I think. Um, they're going with Drigger,
Correct.
and San Jose's going with Reimer. I got to go with San Jose here. Reimer's just been crushing it.
Correct.
Reimer's just been crushing it this year.
Yes. No.
I don't think that's a very solid goaltending matchup between the two. Seattle's been a little bit pop gunnish when it comes to offense the last little while, and San Jose isn't going to allow them to be in their zone too much with that defense that moves the puck the way they do. So I don't see Seattle being able to do too much here.
Well, Seattle's been. I mean, they've been better five. Like, there's a reason they've been 5-3-2 in the last 10. But one of the biggest reasons is mostly because they've played a better overall structure. They found a way to score a little bit more in
And
some of their
they
games.
got a couple tired
Where
teams
it's
there
not.
that were playing at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
Western road trips, and that was another reason too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they also they're a team that is moving in the right direction, but with the way Groovy's been playing this year to the way Reimer's been playing this year, goaltending matchup one, I have to favor their team. But overall team matchup with the way that the Sharks have been playing this year is one of the better surprise teams. I remember coming into the season on Spitting Chicklets.
Mm-hmm.
You probably heard of that podcast. That's on Barstool that
those
Whitney
guys,
and Biz do. Yeah. Where the one guy Jr. was saying he basically just wrote off all the cow. He's like, "Oh, the California teams are gonna freaking suck." And then now you have San Jose here being a very solid competitive team. The Kings we talked about would be better if they didn't have all their defensive injuries. And then you have the Ducks as one of the most fun teams to watch in the league. So I'm going with the Sharks in this one. James Reimer all the way. I think he's going to have a good game again.
It's mostly the reason. I mean, San Jose has been playing very well this year a lot of the time. And I think they're hungry here for this game as well. I don't think this will be a letdown game. This is an important win for them. So, yeah, San Jose. All right. Well, that's our full 42 today. We're doing in this a little later from 1:30 to 3:30 now. What do you got going? What do you got going on, Joe? You've got several. Didn't you just post something you did with Steele today? Didn't you?
Steele posted on his channel first because he puts all the bells and whistle. That's the JB and Steele show, 4th edition we did. We talked about at the quarter mark some teams, some top news on the way that COVID's affecting the league. Unfortunately, we talked about MLB lockout news, a couple NBA stats updates, and a couple NFL stuff as well. And then on my Sports Fanatic News, I put out a bunch of hockey content today, and we'll be putting out more like a Flyers preview to the game. Plus more stuff on like the players of the week in each league coming up as well. That's kind of what I've been doing. I've just been doing multiple videos a day on whatever pops into my mind, plus reviewing the 18 draft, like I said, because I think once you get to a 3-year period, that's the time you can start reviewing the draft. 4 is probably more ideal, but 3 is when you can start to. Yeah, because I appreciate it because I have the book. Like I was like, I'm just going to do this one because I also have the book that had the mock draft, so you can kind of see who was right, who was wrong, and that from having the old hockey news that I kept. So that's why I did that way as well.
Excellent. Okay, everybody, check out his channel, Sports Fanatic News with a PH Fanatic. He's got content coming out, tons of content. We'll be back tomorrow from 3:30 to 5:30 to talk about all the games from the night before. For all of you that have been in, we appreciate you a lot for the likes and follows. I just put out a trade price to 5 different people, and my picks for the day are there as well. Go check them out. Have a great day, everybody. That's my full 42. Okay. Bye.